What up YouTube, it's your boy Anime Specialist. So this episode of Attack on Titan was packed with information, new information, and I can't remember the last time that there was that much more new information in an episode. Let me know in the comments down below, but this episode was crazy, man. It was one of the best episodes of the Attack on Titan series, in my opinion. I put that episode with the Levi versus Beast Titan fight, and the episode after that when Levi, Mikasa, and Eren were going at each other to save Erwin or Armin. This episode was crazy, man. There was a lot of information, and I can't wait to talk about it with you guys. So let's get right to it. So I just wanted to show this screenshot right there because it just shows how much more advanced their technology is in this world compared to inside the walls. And that was when Grisha Yeager, Eren's father, was a kid, you know, so now they must be way more advanced than they were then. Anyway, in last week's episode we were introduced to a young Grisha Yeager when he was a kid and his little sister, but what happened after that was really sad. So from what we saw in last week's episode and in this week's episode, they went in a zone that they weren't authorized to go because they needed a permit, but they didn't have one. So what happened is they were seen by officers, and Grisha was beaten up by one of the officers. That was one of the punishment. But then when he came back home, his sister wasn't there. His sister was supposed to be there because the other officer said that he was gonna accompany her to her house, but she wasn't there. She was dead. We'll talk about her death a little bit later, but man, that was crazy, man. She was what, 7 years old or something like that, and because they went to a zone that they weren't supposed to go, even their mom said that not to go to the zone because they're not permitted to go there. Because of that, Grisha was beaten up and his little sister died for a reason that we're gonna talk really soon. But it's crazy, man, because this officer right there, we're gonna talk about him also later in the review, but he's a scumbag, man. What he did to his little sister, it's inconceivable. If someone did that in our world, he would get killed in a prison, you know, because you don't do that, man. That's the thing that he did was, oh my god, I can't even talk, man. But before we talk about all that, we need to talk about the origins of the Titans, because I think, in my opinion, it was the most important and the most interesting part of the episode. And since I'm a manga reader, it's been a while since I've read this specific chapter about this specific story. It's been like a year since, so it kind of refreshed my memory. So I'm glad that the anime is at that moment right now. The story is pretty simple. More than 1,000 years ago, Hymir Fritz made a contract with this kind of goddess, demon-like creature to become a titan, and she ruled the world for many years. She oppressed other races of human and everything, but before she died, she divided her titan power into 9 other titan shifters. So in total, there's 9 other human that can transform into titans. We've already encountered some of them: Eren, Reiner, now Armin, the Beast Titan, and Annie. So there's 5 titans shifters that we've encountered. So these 9 titan shifters continued Ymir Fritz's reign for years, and that's when it gets really interesting, because these 9 titan shifters had their own people, you know. They're called the Eldians, and 80 years before, I think, Grisha Yeager, Eren's father, was born, there was a war. It was called the Great Titan War, and the world basically rebelled against the 9 titan shifters, and 7 of them was taken control of by the Marleyans. So the Marleyans are basically the Eldians' #1 rival. They're enemies, they're #1 enemies, and you can basically think how they took control of 7 of the 9 Titan shifters. They basically captured the Titan shifters. They transformed some of their soldiers into Titan to eat the Titan shifters, and that's how they took control of 7 of the 9 Titan shifters. That's kind of crazy, and that's how the Eldians lost the war. And because they lost the war, the king that had the founding Titan retreated to an island, and this island is where Eren, Mikasa, Armin are from. This is where the walls are. So he basically left most of the Eldians population and in Marleyans, where they were oppressed by the Marleyans. So that's kind of crazy that he left with some of the Eldians, but he left most of them in Marleyans, and now because of that, because of their sins of their ancestors, they're oppressed by the Marleyans. So yeah, man, it was a crazy story, but right now in the present, I think that the Marleyans have like 5 out of the 9 Titan shifters. The reason why I'm saying 5 is because Armin is now one of the Titan shifters. Eren, from what we know, has 1 or 2 Titan shifters power inside of him, and there's Annie. So that's 4 powers. That's 4 Titan shifters powers. All the other ones, the Marleyans have them. So it's gonna be interesting. 4 against 5 right now, if you are counting Annie. But yeah, man, this story was great. Basically, right now in the present, the Marleyans are now oppressing the Eldians for the sins that their ancestors did, and they have 5 out of the 9 Titan shifters powers, you know. So that was a great story. Now, a little bit later in the episode, we learned how Grisha Jaeger's sister died. So the way that she died was something else, man. The guy that was supposed to bring her home basically killed her with her dogs. Dogs killed her. That was crazy. That was a crazy screenshot, man. I can't even think how she suffered before she died, you know. But it was something else, man. I can't believe he did something like that just because she's an Eldian. But the reason why Grisha Jaeger now knows about this is because he was approached by basically revolutionists that are against the Marleyan government, and they're tired of being oppressed by them, you know. And that's how he knows everything about what happened to his sister. So he joined this specific group, and later on there's another woman that joined them, and she's one of the last descendant of the king that left Marley to go to Paradise Island. Paradise Island is where Eren and them are from. Her name was Dinah Fritz, and like I said, she was one of the last descendant of the king. But yeah, she had some information that not anybody else had, because she was from the royal family. And what was interesting is the information that she had was different than what the Marleyans were explaining and teaching the Eldians. So in their story, it says that Emir Fritz actually built a lot of things, that she was good and everything. So I don't know what story I can believe right now, the Eldians or the Marleyans. But anyway, Grisha Jaeger and Dinah Fritz eventually got married like a year later, and then they had a kid, and their kid was named Zeke. I think that you can maybe remember who Zeke is in the Attack on Titan story. I'm not really gonna talk about it right now, but they had a kid. He's from royal blood also, because, you know, she was one of the last descendants. But this was the kid, and this was the wife that he had in that picture that they found in the book in last week's episode. So he had a family before he had Eren and his mother. And like I said, Grisha and Dinah were part of a group that wanted to liberate all the Eldians from the Marleyans, and their plan for that was to go to Paradise Island where the walls are and to get the founding titan. So we all know what happened in the future. Grisha was able to get it and give it to Eren, but that was their plan. When Grisha and Dinah's son was older, they teached him the real story of the Eldians, and they wanted him to infiltrate the Marleyans, to help them with their goal. But that's where it gets really sad, man. Their son actually told on them, so the Marleyan government basically caught them, and they were tortured and everything to reveal some information because they wanted to know who the How was. And the reason that their kid Zeke did that is because he wanted to protect himself and his grandparents. So but that was kind of sad that because of him basically his parents are dead right now. But yeah, man, it was a really sad scene because it doesn't seem like their son really knew what he was doing, and he seemed a little bit sad too. So yeah, it was really sad, man. Anyway, they were caught and the rest of their group was caught, and the way that they executed them was by transforming them into mindless titans. So that's what we saw in season 2, I think, when Ymir was transformed into a titan and she roamed around the world as a mindless titan for years before she ate one of Reiner, Annie, and Berthold's friends. So then she became a Titan shifter, So that's what we saw in season 2 from Ymir. They transformed all their friends. Dinah, Grisha's wife, was transformed, and it was revealed that Dinah was actually the Smiling Titan, the same Titan that killed Grisha's second wife, Eren's mother. So that's kind of messed up, because even before she transformed, she said that one day she'll find him again, and she basically find Grisha again. She killed and ate Grisha's second wife and Eren's mother. So that's really messed up, man. That's fucked up. Then we saw that it was Eren that was dreaming, and not only dreaming, but he was remembering his father's memories. I don't know why it was triggered, why and how he was able to remember his father's memory, because before that he needed to touch a royal member of the family to have the founding titans memories or powers. But maybe it's because he read the book that his father had or something like that. I don't know, but I just want to say that I love Mikasa's bed hair. It looked amazing. She looks amazing. She's my favorite character of the show, so it was great to see her in a different haircut or something like that. She's cool, man. I love her. But now we're gonna talk about what happened at the end of the episode, because this man right there saved Grisha. If you remember, the officers that was visiting Grisha's mother and father, that was one of the officers, not the one that killed his sister, but the good one, the one that beat Grisha's ass when he was a kid. But he's actually one of the good officers. He's the one that saved Grisha, and by saving Grisha, he actually killed the other guy that killed Grisha's sister. So the other guy was killed by a titan, so I'm glad that happened. He suffered, and what he did was uncalled for, so I'm glad that he's now dead. And yeah, man, what happened at the end of the episode was crazy, because this guy was actually a titan shifter. So I guess that now the Marleyans have like 4 out of the 9 titan shifters, because 4 of them are inside the walls, and he's the 5th one. So I guess they have 4 out of 9, so that's kind of crazy that they had 7 at first and now they're down to 4. But he's a Titan shifter. I don't know how. We'll learn this in next week's episode. But yeah, man, it ended in a bang. The whole episode was great. I hope that I didn't forget anything. There was a lot of things to talk about. So basically, the most important information in this week's episode was the Eldians, the 9 Titan shifters, the Marleyans winning the war against the Eldians, and now the Marleyans are oppressing the Eldians. Some of the Eldians escaped to Paradise Island, where Eren is from, with the king that has the founding Titan. And that's kind of it, right? So yeah, it was a really informative episode. I hope that you guys understood what I was kind of talking about. Maybe I was all over the place, so my bad about that, but there was so much to talk about, man. It was a great episode, one of my top 5 favorite episodes of the series so far. So I can't wait for what's gonna happen next. Let me know what you thought about this week's episode in the comments down below, and let me know what you think is gonna happen next. I do Attack on Titan reviews every Sunday, so subscribe for that. And I do other anime related things like Black Clover reviews on Tuesdays, Kimetsu no Yaiba Demon Slayer reviews on Saturdays, and I also do One Piece reviews on Saturdays. Early July, there's the Wano arc in One Piece that is beginning. It's going to be great. There's a new director for the anime. The animation and art is going to be awesome, so I can't wait for that. It's going to be an amazing arc. And then there's another anime coming to my channel. It's called Dr. Stone. It comes early July. I'm gonna review this anime weekly, so stay tuned for that. So there's a lot of great things coming to my channel. But yeah, man, this week's episode of Attack on Titan was great. There was a lot of information. We learned about the origins of the Titans, Marleyans, Eldians, Paradise Island. Everything about this episode was great, man. So follow me at Anime Specialist on Twitter and Instagram. I'm way more active on Twitter, so follow me on that. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video, man. Anime Specialist out. Peace.